Hey everyone! In this video you will see the top 5 worst premium tanks of the 8th tier. In the list will be only those tanks that you can buy right now in the premium shop, in the game for gold, or in the bond shop for bonds. Without further ado, let's go! In 5th place is the Swedish medium tank STR-V81. In terms of armor, it's not as simple as it may seem at first glance. On the one hand, there is a well-armored turret, which absorbs shells of most 8th level tanks. On the other hand, the hull has weak armor, which even level 6 tanks laugh at. In general, this tank is not about armor. Mobility. In this STR-V81 is still at least somewhat not bad. The engine with a good specific power allows to reach the maximum speed of 50 km per hour. To be honest, there is nothing special in it. Mobility is normal. As for medium tank of the 8th tier, the gun of STR-V81 is also ambiguous. Let's begin with the pros. Good accuracy. Not bad stabilization and aiming time. That's it. And only one minus, which completely discourages you from playing this tank. Damage per shot is only 230. That's incredibly low. Many tier 8 medium tanks have 320 and more. Believe me, you will be very uncomfortable to play on this tank, if you still decide to buy it. In 4th place is the German medium tank M48 Rahmenpanzer. This tank has random armor. Sometimes, playing on it, you will repel all shells. Sometimes you will be penetrated by every shot. Considering the fact that it is a medium tank, this could be A+. However, there is a huge hatch on the turret, the size of a low-level tank's turret, which has about 160 mm of armor. This completely negates all the armor of this tank. Moving on. Mobility. Or rather its absence. Seriously, M48 Rahmenpanzer has mobility worse than some heavy tanks. As for the gun, and here all is sad. The damage per shot is 240. Stabilization and accuracy are pretty mediocre. But good aiming time. In general, a classic 90mm gun. As said before, such guns are irrelevant currently. In theory, it could be a good medium tank, considering its armor. But the huge bucket on the turret ruined it. In 3rd place is another German medium tank, Panzer 58 Mutz. Compared to the M48 Rahmenpanzer, it does not have any armor. Yes, you will not be penetrated by his shells, no more. As for mobility, the situation is the same as with STR-V81. The mobility is good, but there is nothing outstanding. The firepower of the Mutz is guess what? Right, about the same as the previous 2 tanks. The same 90mm gun with a small damage per shot, 240, normal stabilization, accuracy and aiming time. That's the problem with the worst premium tanks. They are all the same. Their whole concept boils down to one thing. To pop 240 damage with no other outstanding performance. It's just that some of these tanks are a little better, some a little worse. It's sad that the developers don't try to improve the old premium tanks, but introduce new ones that are better in almost everything. In 2nd place is the American medium tank M46KR. Yes, you have already understood. But let's briefly discuss its characteristics and find out why it is in 2nd place. The armor here is slightly better than that of the Panzer 58 Mutz. So much better, that sometimes you will not be penetrated by tier 7 light tanks. With the armor we took care of, now about the firepower. This is exactly the weak point of the M46KR. Compared to the previous tanks on the list, this one has slightly lower accuracy and aiming time. And also its maximum speed is 2 km per hour lower than Panzer 58 Mutz and STR-V81. You can argue with me about the placement of these tanks on the list. That, for example, M46KR81 is better than STR-V81 and all that. And maybe you'll be right. As I said before, they are all similar to each other and almost no different. Unlike the tank at the 1st place. Honorable mentions. Tanks that didn't make the main list because they are not permanently sold. AMX CDC. This is a French medium tank with the size of S4 and armor from MS1. Chieftain T95, almost a complete copy of M48 Rahmenpanzer. The same could be said about 59 Patton. And also T25 Pilot, which is a brother of the M46KR. A disgrace? Freak, Bastard, and just the worst premium tank in the game, M4A1 Revalorize. Apparently the developers got confused and put this tank not on tier 6, where it belongs, but on tier 8. There's no point in saying anything about armor. After all, how can you talk about something that doesn't exist? At the same time, this tank is huge, and it's impossible to miss it. The mobility here is about the same as that of all the tanks on this list. Good specific engine power, and 40 km per hour maximum speed. As for the gun, it's pretty good at first glance. Good stabilization, not bad accuracy and aiming time. Very fast basic shells. But it's all just in numbers. In fact, you will suffer trying to shoot with this gun. The basic shells are ACPR. Because of their mechanics you will often fail to penetrate seemingly easy targets. The premium shells are heat, and have only 250 armor penetration. You will also experience discomfort when shooting them. Also, even when aiming fully, the shells often miss. This is a hidden parameter of the gun of this miserable tank. In general, I don't recommend anyone to buy this tank. If the previous tanks are just a bit weaker than other tier 8 tanks, the M4A1 Revalorize is really awful. Imagine, it is able to cause real physical pain. If you play it for a long time. Well, thank you for watching this video to the end. I hope you found it useful. It's time to say goodbye. Good luck to everyone. And remember, don't play World of Tanks.